The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.
The thoughts and opinions of this program are strictly those of the host and the guests, not necessarily shared by anyone in the universe, let alone shared by the host and the guest. Dimension, a measurable extent of some kind, such as length, breadth, depth, or height, an aspect or feature of a situation, problem, or thing. Fear, an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. Knowledge, facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education, the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject, awareness of familiarity gained by experience of a fact or situation. Imagination, the faculty or action of forming new ideas, or images or concepts or external objects not present to the senses. The ability of the mind to be creative or resourceful, the part of the mind that imagines things. A dimension, as vast as space and is as timeless as infinity, between light and dark, somewhere in the middle of science and superstition, lying between fear and knowledge, the dimension of imagination. Welcome to the Daily Planet, and I am your host, Jimmy Olsen. Now, we are going to do a little Christmas episode today, and it is 35 surprising Christmas facts, little Christmas trivia that maybe could help you if you ever play Christmas trivia. I found these on Good Housekeeping. It was an article about that, and I will certainly put it in the comments so you can go and check out the article yourself. So it's those 35 surprising Christmas facts that we're going to share to you today, or share with you today on the Daily Planet. Thank you so much for listening. In fact, you can always find me anywhere on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, My Buddy Jimmy, YouTube at My Buddy Jimmy 101. Find all my other podcasts, even my word of the day, the different things that I do. So I had someone ask, they said, so are you going to be doing some Christmas facts this year? I said, well, certainly I am. So here we go. The 35 surprising Christmas facts on the Daily Planet. And that first one, that Christmas wasn't always December 25th, which most of us know that. I mean, I'll be honest, at one point growing up, I did not. But then, as you get older and you learn things, while Christmas celebrates the birth of Christ, there actually is no date. The date is just lost to history because there's no mention of December 25th in the Bible, even though many historians say that he was really born in the spring. In fact, he was born in the spring, and then he was crucified in the spring, which, I think pretty much made him exactly 33 almost. But don't take my word for that. I'm just kind of using my brain a little bit. But some historians, they say that the date was originally chosen because that it coincided with the pagan festival of Saturnalia, which honored the agricultural god Saturn with celebrating and gift giving, which of course, we also talk about the winter solstice that happens, around the same time when we start having those short days and then the days start becoming long again, that kind of like pivotal time of the year. So that is the first one. Another surprising fact is that gifts have both Christian and pagan origins. Again, over the years, because of traditions in certain areas, as people migrated and traveled into other parts of the world, they kind of saw other traditions that they kind of made their own type of thing. Well, Christians, we've grown up learning that we give gifts at Christmas to mimic the presence of the three wise men. That's really what the idea is. That's why you see the presents under the tree. So it's the gold, frankincense, and myrrh that they had given to Christ. Well, but like so many other traditions, there's also roots that we just talked about in the Saturnalia, which the pagans originally gave offerings to their gods as well. And there's other religions that do the same thing, that you see that where, you see people giving. We're not just talking gifts, we're talking food like cooked chicken and things like that. So another fact about Christmas are the evergreen trees, which they are not ancient tradition. The tradition of the Christmas tree, it goes, well, they are an ancient tradition. Sorry, I kind of misspoke on that, but it goes all the way back to Egyptians and Romans, who decorated with evergreens during the winter solstice to signify that spring would return. So if you would to deck out your halls with a green tree, wreaths, or even garland, you are doing a very long history of things that are happening. In fact, even decorating the tree by putting the red Christmas balls, the Christmas ornaments that you put on that. Well, the reason why they were red, I was reading this, and I think I will be doing another one of these, like the Christmas tree meeting on my other podcast, The Gospel Road. But they were talking about that was the forbidden fruit. It was the meaning of the apple that Adam and Eve take their bite of from the tree of good and evil. I saw that and I thought that was kind of interesting. So another Christmas fact. This is according to goodhousekeeping.com. You're listening to The Daily Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Olsen. Now, you can thank Prince Albert for your Christmas tree. Brew a cup of tea when trimming your tree, it says, because you're paying homage to its origin. Prince Albert of Germany got a tree for his new wife, Queen Victoria of England, and then, of course, it just really took off from there, drawing of the couple in front of the Christmas tree. The first tree appeared illustrated in the Illustrated London News in 1848. So they actually did a painting of them and the kids in front of the tree. So Prince Albert really has a part of the Christmas tree, and kind of how we're looking at it today. You can really think of the origins of how he introduced that. And that's just one of many, because a lot of these facts that you find, you could probably find many other pieces when you go through history and look at what other places did and get some other ones. But again, this is according to the 35 surprising Christmas facts from goodhousekeeping.com. So Saint Nick was more than just a jolly old fellow. Yes. In fact, we know that St. Nicholas, that's kind of where they get the idea from Santa Claus, but the saint wasn't bearded, who wore a red suit. No, that again came later when they introduced the jolly old elf Santa Claus. But that came much later. But in the 4th century, the Christian bishop gave away his large inheritance to the poor and rescued women from servitude. In fact, in Dutch, his name is Sinterklaas, which later then morphed into Santa Claus in English. Again, when you get in that area, especially in Germany, with the whole St. Nicholas and all the different things, even Krampus that comes in to a lot of these different traditions when it comes, you can really, lots of information to really learn. In fact, the Dutch, they gave the cookie idea, according to the article, about leaving milk and cookies. So what they did is, it was on St. Nicholas's feast day on December 6th, Dutch children would leave him food and drink to be exchanged for gifts overnight. And that was actually December 6th. So even though they were, really doing the feast of St. Nicholas rather than Christmas with that one. So that's pretty interesting how the Dutch children did that. Of course, Coca-Cola, we remember the Santa Claus from those early advertising. Well, Coca-Cola, they decided to use the image. In fact, Santa looks trended more spooky than jolly with some, so they made it a little more jolly. In 1931, the beverage company hired an illustrator named Hadan Sundblom to depict the jolly old elf for magazine ads. And of course, now kids see visions of the sugar plums instead of having Santa-themed nightmares. So now these sugar plums are dancing in their head. I mean, of course, Macy's was the other one that went with the whole Santa Claus thing with that jolly old elf that they started sharing. So hanging stockings, that did not happen by accident by any means. In fact, according to legend, they hang stockings by the chimney with care, thanks to a poor man who didn't have enough money for his 3 daughters' dowries. So generous old St. Nick dropped a bag of gold down their chimney one night after the girls had hung their freshly washed stockings there to dry, and then that's where the gold ended up, and then tradition stuck. But I don't know that they're freshly washed stockings that are on the chimneys anymore. Of course, Rudolph, yes, was a marketing ploy because Christmas has gotten very, very commercial over the years. Rudolph first appeared in 1939 when the Montgomery Ward department store asked one of its copywriters to create a Christmas story for kids that the store could distribute as a promotion. Now, of course, then the adorable movie featuring the Island of Misfit Toys and Herbie the Elf hit the airwaves. That was like 1964. And then, of course, we remember the TV show that we watch, the cartoon every year with Burl Ives narrating, with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Black Friday, not the busiest shopping day of the year, believe it or not. Black Friday or the day after Thanksgiving. Certainly, there's many people hitting the malls, buying those presents. But, of course, there are still lots of procrastinators. So the most hectic day of the year for actually shopping are the Friday and Saturday before Christmas. So it's actually that weekend before are really the busiest shopping days of the year, which is interesting. So the whole thing with 8 tiny reindeer, they had names. So Rudolph, named Rollo or Reginald, which doesn't quite have the same ring to it, but his crew, they were also Flossie, Glossy, Racer, Pacer, Scratcher, Feckless, Ready, Steady, and Fireball. Well, that is, completely different from the whole Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen and Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? But anyway, the 8 tiny reindeers, they've had lots of names, and that's just a few of them right there. Those are interesting names. Fireball. Maybe he's the one that actually launches the sleigh off the ground. Christmas wreath, religious symbol. The Christmas wreath first originated as a symbol of Christ. The holly represents the crown of thorns. Jesus wore it as crucifixion, and the red berries stand for the blood that he shed. So when you are hanging the wreath for the holiday season, it's going back to remembering Jesus dying on the cross and his crucifixion. So not even really just the birth, which is what you're celebrating for Christmas, the birth of Christ. It's also the crucifixion of Christ. So Jingle Bells, it was originally a Thanksgiving song that kind of made its way over to being more of a Christmas song. In fact, it turns out that the whole dashing through the snow was James Lord Pierpont wrote the song One Horse Open Sleigh for his church's Thanksgiving concert in mid-19th century. Then in 1857, the song was re-released under the title that we know it today to make it one of the most popular Christmas songs, which is Jingle Bells. Dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh, over the hills we go, laughing all the way. And the funny thing is, it was actually the song when they were talking about this was, I think if I remember right, reading this, it was sleigh races. Maybe that was even the sleigh ride song, but yeah, they had sleigh races. So you had, your woman with you, your girl with you, and you're, racing those sleighs. So, interesting. Astronauts broadcast Jingle Bells from space. That happened 9 days before Christmas in 1965. 2 astronauts aboard Gemini 6 told Mission Control that they saw an unidentified flying object about to enter Earth's atmosphere, traveling in the polar orbit from north to south. Just as things got tense, they interrupted the broadcast with Jingle Bells as Wally Schirra played a small harmonica accompanied by Tom Stafford shaking a handful of small sleigh bells. Interesting. Silent Night, the most recorded song. Did you know that? In fact, out of many of those Christmas songs, it is the most recorded. In fact, we hear all of them through stores and on the radio, but Silent Night, the most recorded Christmas song in history, has more than 733 different versions, and then copyrighted since 1978. 733 different versions copyrighted since that's just 1978. We're not even talking about before that. Oh my, that is crazy. So celebrating Christmas also at one point could have been illegal. In fact, from 1659 to 1681, anyone caught making merry in the colonies would face fine for celebrating. By the Revolutionary War, the day had so little significance that Congress even held their first session on December 25th, 1789. Christmas was not even proclaimed a federal holiday for almost another 100 years, another century, proving that the Grinch's attitude toward the holiday was alive and well, long before he was. And of course, then you have the Grinch, one of those great Christmas cartoons that you can check. Settlers also created the first American eggnog. Jamestown settlers, they created the batch of eggnog, although it likely bore a little resemblance to today's comforting tipple. Okay, the word nog comes from the word grog, or any drink made with rum. So yes, the original, it was eggnog. They had rum in it, so it was not for kids. It was not. An early nog didn't have the rich, milky base we have now, or that you see that you're enjoying. But yeah, it was that original eggnog actually had rum, and that's when they created that the Jamestown settlers. So long ago, and that is another long tradition that we have with that. Christmas decorating sends nearly 15,000 people to the emergency room every year. Thank you, Clark Griswold. Remember that from Christmas Vacation. Well, likely being shocked, and in fact, according to the Customer Product Safety Commission, estimated 14,700 people visit the emergency room each year during November and December for holiday-related decorating. So always be careful when putting out the trees and getting out the holly and the ivy. Also, Santa Claus has his own Canadian postal code. Every year, letters to Santa Claus, they flood post offices across the world, putting parents in a tough spot as they figure out how to answer them or explain to their kids the letters got lost in the mail. Well, cementing their reputation as some of the nicest people ever, some big-hearted Canadian post office workers started writing back. As the program took off, they set up a special postal code for Santa as part of the Santa Letter Writing Program initiative. And it is H-O. H-O-H-O. Ho, ho, ho. So I guess when writing that letter to Santa, it's going to be Santa Claus, North Pole, ho, ho, ho. And it should get to Santa, and hopefully you'll get an answer back. Dry Christmas trees, you need to be very careful. Very careful. Because they spark more than joy during the holiday season. In fact, they can be very dry. And in fact, I was talking with a friend who was in Florida, and they used to do real Christmas trees. And by the time the Christmas trees got to Florida, they were so dry, and you had to do so much to kind of, get the moisture back into them. But they end up being neglected. Not everyone remembers to water those Christmas trees, the real Christmas tree that they're putting out. So those neglected, dried out Christmas trees, they do spark hundreds of fires in the United States each year. In fact, they even can cause an average of 10 deaths and about $15.7 million in property damage, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. So always be careful when you have those real trees that you're decorating for Christmas. And then you got the animals, the cats and the dogs, you need to be careful with as well. So it really can put residents, in fact, not only will an errant spark ruin the holiday, it'll put residents and, of course, responding firefighters in danger. So always, I know we're past that now, but just trying to remember that as we deal with the holiday season. Listening to the Daily Planet, I'm your host, Jimmy Olsen. These are the 35 surprising Christmas facts. I found these on goodhousekeeping.com. You can go check these out as well. But you can also ship tons of packages. Well, they do ship tons of packages, according to the U.S. Postal Service. Estimated 910 million packages. That was in 2019. This is between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. In addition to 15 billion pieces of mail. Now, this is just the post office. So we're not talking UPS. We're not talking Amazon. We're not talking FedEx. But we're talking, the gifts and the Christmas cards and the letters and just all that. And then, of course, the credit card bills start making their way when you get to January. So the term Xmas, and I remember a debate with Xmas, people really having problems with that. But, that dates back to the 1500s. So contrary to the popular belief, I remember this as a kid, they're just putting X there because they're taking Christ out of Christmas. Well, it was not a trendy attempt to take Christ out of Christmas. According to From Adam's Apple to Xmas, an essential vocabulary guide for the politically correct, Christianity was spelled Xinity as far back as 1100. So the X, or chi, is the Greek letter, the first letter of Christ, and served as a symbolic stand-in at the time, and this was in 1551. The holiday was commonly called Chidemus, so Xtemmas, so it'd be Chidemus, which was later shortened to Chimus, or Xmas, or Xtimus, so that would be Christmas. So Xtimus, but that X is Chi, for, Christ. The Chi, the Ch. So that's always, so whenever you get into those conversations about the whole Xmas thing, well, now you have some answers to go with that you can deal with that. So as we keep going through that list, the majority of Americans celebrate Christmas. Majority. In fact, Christmas decorations, we see them in stores every year, earlier and earlier, in fact, in stores that you see them. I think once we get into January 1st, into the new year, 2022, they'll already start putting out the Christmas decorations. No, they're not going to do it that early. But not to mention the ads, the gifts. And that's because a majority of Americans really do, and this is what the article says, they really do Jingle Bell rock their way right through the season, about 85%, and not all, of course, celebrate on the religious beliefs, but 85% of Americans do celebrate. About 85% of those in America celebrate Christmas. So just about half of Americans attend Christmas services, and in fact, according to this article, goodhousekeeping.com, again, it's the 35 surprising Christmas facts. That's the one that I'm going to. We'll be sharing the link with you that you can check out as you are listening to the Daily Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Olsen. So in church attendance on Christmas Eve, and of course we always hear about the Easter and Christmas people that go, but they felt a little less busy than when you were a kid. According to Pew Research Center, they found that fewer people think of Christmas as a religious holiday anymore. In fact, only 51% of people who celebrate attend church or as part of the festivities. In fact, no word on the what portion of those also go on Christmas and Easter, but there's always that. In fact, I even had an invite to go to midnight mass this year, but I'm usually sleeping by 8 o'clock, so it didn't really work for me. We are still making our way through the list here. Americans spend nearly $1,000 on gifts, according to the National Retail Federation. The most recent data, the average is $967.13 is what they spend on gifts. Although individual spending they've got their own range, but many shoppers will really go all out. But just as many cherish the homemade, thrifted, or otherwise gifts. In fact, I had a homemade quilt. My aunt made me a quilt this year that I just thought was really neat. It was just she's in this quilting group, and they had a bunch of leftover pieces. She's going, what do I do with this? And then she actually made me this throw quilt, so that's kind of cool. Mistletoe, it's an aphrodisiac. Yeah, as we're making one of these 35 surprising Christmas facts. The holiday decoration, not just pretty, it's also the ancient symbol of fertility and virility. And the Druids, we're not talking Spaceballs, not those Druids, but the Druids considered it an aphrodisiac. So the next time someone cracks a joke about meeting you under the mistletoe, you have been warned. Now, mistletoe's name isn't as sweet. Let's see, so mistletoe's name might not give you quite as many warm feelings. Mistletoe. Sounds, well, anyway. In fact, the missel thrush birds eat the plant berries, digest the seed, and then help the plant germinate with their droppings. So the Germanic word for mistletoe, you're going to love this. This is so romantic. This is going to make you want to just stand under the mistletoe. It's dung on a twig. So the Germanic word for mistletoe is dung on a twig. I'm going to start calling it that. I'm just going to say, when they say, oh, the mistletoe, I'm going to, oh, dung on a twig. Oh, man. Ham. Yes, we always get the Christmas ham, right? Turkey, it's Thanksgiving. Christmas, it uses the ham. In fact, according to Google searches for ham and turkey, both spike during the month of December because that's when, they're looking to cook it. They're trying to figure out different ways to make it. Spiral cut ham edges out the turkey, though, as most popular choice for the Christmas table. Well, that's because it's the Christmas ham and the Thanksgiving turkey, but that's okay. The jury's still out, though, on whether you prefer ham or turkey. I'll be honest. I know for Thanksgiving we do the turkey, and for Christmas we do the ham. Now, do you prefer the ham or turkey sandwiches the day after? So, do you have more options for leftovers on what you can do with the turkey or with the ham? There's lots of different things that you can figure out. Candy canes, those originated in Germany, according to the National Confectioners Association. They said that a choir master originally gave the red and white striped candies to young children to keep them quiet during marathon church services. I could see that, but then that was a lot of sugar, too. So grandmas would still sneak the kids sweets during droning sermons. History, they say, is on our side, so when we do that. It wasn't until a German-Swedish immigrant decorated his tree with candy canes in 1847 that they became popular as a Christmas candy. The Rockefeller Christmas tree, well, originally was small. The first Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center probably looked more like Charlie Brown's tree. Oh, I wouldn't mind a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Well, construction workers first placed a small undecorated tree while working there in 1931. 2 years later, another tree appeared in its place, and this time draped in lights. And then it just kept getting bigger every year to today that the majestic tree bears more than 25,000 twinkling lights and, of course, sees millions of selfies each year of people going by to check it out. Washington Irvin created many Santa legends. You may know Washington Irving for the best legend for Halloween, the legend of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman. But he wrote a lot about St. Nicholas, too. In fact, he's the one who came up with the 8 tiny reindeer. He loved Santa Claus so much that in 1835, he helped launch the St. Nicholas Society of the city of New York, serving as its secretary until 1841. That's kind of nice. That's actually really cool. So, he really loved Christmas, but then we get the Headless Horseman out of him. Norway provides the tree for Trafalgar Square. Londoners and visitors alike probably they see that iconic spruce that stretches the sky in the square every year, but Norway is the one that provides it. Few realize that it's an equally iconic holiday gift. Every year since 1947, the people of Norway donated the tree in gratitude for Britain's support for Norway during World War II. And now that's why we call it goodwill toward men. Or now that's what we call goodwill toward men. Either way, I'm not saying it came from that, but But no, that is really neat. So it's like this great gift that they give every year by saying thanks. So the Christmas gift held a life-saving secret. During World War II, the United States Playing Card Company joined forces with American and British intelligence agencies to create a very special deck of cards. They distributed them as Christmas gifts, but they also helped Allied prisoners of war escape from the German POW camps. When wet, individual cards peeled apart to reveal maps of escape routes. So sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. So yeah, they made these special playing cards that then had maps in those. I wonder if they had those playing cards in Hogan's Heroes. Remember that TV show? 35 surprising Christmas facts. Thank you so much. I hope you are enjoying these. Again, I'll be sharing the link to Good Housekeeping so you can go check this out on your own. So your Christmas tree likely traveled a bit, yes, unless you have a fake tree. But if you're doing that fresh Christmas tree, spent weeks on the ground before appearing at the local Christmas tree retail. It wouldn't even be an establishment because usually they're in fences just sitting around. But a lot of time on the ground before you ended up finding it, and there's likely not much hiking in the woods, at least not around where I am. There's not a lot of hiking in the woods, not a lot of Christmas tree farms that you go and just pick your own. But 98% of American trees today grown on farms, mostly in California, Oregon, Michigan, Washington, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Those are the country's top Christmas tree producing states. So they've got to do that, and then they got to then travel on. And tinsel has a storied history. It was invented in 1610 in Germany and was originally spun from real silver, making it far from the chintzy decoration that we see now, because once you get tinsel, it's like tinsel. It's like glitter. It goes everywhere and you can't get rid of it. Well, the U.S. government also once banned tinsel because it used to contain poisonous lead. But now it's plastic. So it should just be kept away from your kids and pets, though, because it's still an easy choking hazard. But that is the whole part of tinsel. Now, here's something else that is kind of funny, and this is not part of the article. But speaking of songs, because they were talking about the Jingle Bells, and how it was originally a Thanksgiving song, and it was talking about the sleigh rides. Well, another Christmas song, and not really a Christmas song, but we hear it a lot during Christmas time, is the song Let It Snow. But that was not actually written as a Christmas song because it was written in July of 1945. And the reason why it was written is because it was one of the hottest summers. So Sammy Kahn and Jewel Stein wrote this trying to think of a cooler day. And it was simply just let it snow. So they wrote that to try and think cool, to not think hot. So just think of it. They're in front of these fans, sweating like crazy, and they're writing Let It Snow. So there you go. 35 surprising Christmas facts. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. And again, I'll be sharing the link to the article in the comments as well, so you can go and check it out yourself. This is the Daily Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Olsen, and you can always follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, My Buddy Jimmy, YouTube, My Buddy Jimmy 101. If you enjoy this, be sure to share it with others, and you can also give me a rating on your favorite platform that you are listening. Thank you so much for listening to the Daily Planet. If you're looking for help with software, app, web development, be sure to check out my friends at ingenuitycompany.com. They believe in their clients. Software development, app development, web development, visioning, design thinking, diagramming, organizational development, strategy. They can help you at the Ingenuity Company. Find out more at ingenuitycompany.com.
Spinal adjustments provided by Dr. Chad Rolfson. The Spinal Tuning Chiropractic Center is a Des Moines area low flat fee per month unlimited chiropractic care practice. When life happens, just adjust. Schedule today at spinaltuning.com.
Barbecue provided by Kenny's Rib Wagon, catering ribs for your pleasure and serving daily at Plaza Pub, 62nd and Douglas in Des Moines, across from Merle Hay Mall. Find Kenny's Rib Wagon on Facebook.
The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.